It's the Friday edition of Breakfast Central. We're here to bring the last edition of this week. Grateful that you chose to start the week with us and that you're ending the week with us. Thank you for joining us. For the next 3 hours, we're going to be extreme political conversations around the country. My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome.
And I'm Benga Borough. I mean, she said it all. There's nothing I need to add or subtract from what she said. What she said is the absolute truth. For the next 3 hours, we're going to keep you glued to your TV sets. You're going to be informed. You're going to be educated. You're going to laugh. And we're going to have a great time. Today's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Like they say, I am Benga Borough. Welcome to the program. Olive, how are you this morning?
I'm beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that. You're looking very bright and dandy. You know, one of the great things I'm thankful for in this life is that I wake up, I come to work, and I get to see beautiful faces like yours. I get to talk to handsome people like Joe Hansen. You guys you're a huge part of my life, and I don't take it for granted. I don't know why you're laughing. Like,
in case you're wondering,
you think I'm joking.
Thank you so much for the
this is serious stuff.
Emotional message this morning.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering where all this emotion is coming from, we guys just excited it's Friday. If you don't have something that takes you out of the house from Monday to Friday, you don't understand the joy. There's a certain joy that comes with Friday, TGI, knowing that you're not going to work the next day. Absolute bliss, nothing compared.
No, I'm not. I'm not excited about that.
Right.
I'm excited about rest. If it was left to me, and if management is watching, it would be nice.
Don't say it.
It would be nice for us to work 7 days a week.
Back to sender.
365.
Back to sender. That is definitely for Wenga. In fact, management can add him to wake up extra. He will do breakfast central during the week and work breakfast extra.
As long as the remuneration is
considerable.
It's considerable. Why
okay.
not?
All right, we're going to be looking at some very interesting stories. We start our show every morning with Wake Up Conversations. We're streaming live on YouTube via New Central TV Live. If you'd like to drop comments, we'd love to hear from you, to read from you. And at some point during the show, when we review the newspaper front pages, we'll open the phone lines and have you call so we can hear from you. But let's now start with our first story. This morning, we have information about one person who's meant to be a member of a political, who many would have assumed should have supported his father's dream. That is the son of the former presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. His son has left PDP and has now joined APC. In fact, he has not only joined the APC, he's also created a number of people who now support this, and he has said that he's keen into President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's vision for the All Progressives Congress. How did this come across to you?
When I saw the story, I said, I mean, how else can Alhaji Atiku Abubakar argue his case for wanting to be president of Nigeria? If somebody, your own blood, your own child, your son, does not believe in your principles, in your ability to govern Nigeria, it's one big own goal, if I may say. But I mean, his son is an adult. He's free to make his decisions and is free to affiliate politically with any political party he deems fit. But doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. But it's a free, like I said, he's a citizen of Nigeria. He's free. The Constitution guarantees him the right of freedom of association and is within its rights and prerogatives to choose who he wants to associate with. But I bet you politicians are going to milk this, and it will be part of the campaign they would use against him. They'll say, if your own family member, if your own son does not believe that you have what it takes to be president of Nigeria, why should other Nigerians do so? All
right. His name is Abba Abubakar, in case you're wondering. Abba Abubakar is son of the former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He's moved to the APC, and he's also directed a group that he leads called Haske Atiku, and he's asked them to also move. They are called the Haske Atiku organization, which he founded in 2022. He has asked them to immediately join the APC and mobilize support for President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. He said, and I quote, "My name is Abubakar Atiku Abubakar, but everyone calls me Abba. I am here today to formally announce my exit from my former party where we worked in 2023 and my decision to join the APC. Today I'm here to formally announce my exit from my former party to the APC following the outstanding leadership style and quality of His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin. With this development, I will work with Senator Barau to actualize the second-term bid of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027. To this effect, I'm directing all coordinators of my association to join the APC and work for President Tinubu. Let's listen to the video.
Ushering and directing all coordinators from our association to join the APC and work with President Tinubu.
Olive, my question is, you know, in Nigeria, we always say everybody is the father of the nation, my political father. Is this Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's son, like genetical child?
Yes.
Through DNA?
Biological child.
Biological.
So there are two angles. There are those who say that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's sons choosing not to align himself with the ADC may reveal some sort of lack of trust in his father's ability to lead the country. Another would be that there are those who think that he might be put in the APC as a mole, because that's sort of what the political strategy is for a number of politicians. But
I really don't.
The outlook, however you try to analyze it, doesn't look good. But if everybody else says it's not good, the person who gave birth to him, his father, who should be the one to pick a bone with him, seems to be okay with it. Let's take Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's tweet. In his tweet in response to this, he says,
Atiku Abubakar says, the decision of my son, Abba Bakar, to join the APC is entirely personal. In a democracy, so choices are neither usual nor alarming, even when family and politics intersect. As a Democrat, I do not coerce my own children in matters of conscience, and I will certainly not coerce Nigerians. What truly concerns me is the poor governance of the APC and the severe economic and social hardships it has imposed on our people. I remain resolute in working with like-minded patriots to restore good governance and offer Nigerians a credible alternative that brings relief, hope, and progress. Signed, A.A. Atiku Abubakar. So he said it. He's acknowledged that his son has made a decision to join the APC, and it's entirely personal, as he does not coerce his children in matters of conscience. It's a very matured response.
What did you expect him to say before? I condemn my child, or I disown my child.
I mean, if you watch Nollywood, if you're a big fan of Nollywood movies, you do know that a disownment would happen if this was scripted by Zeb Ejiro.
Well, thankfully, it is not a Nollywood movie. This is reality. But let's head to X and see what Nigerians are saying about this on X. Our first tweet this morning is from Kweku the Hustler. Says, no matter how you look at it, Atiku's son joining APC a year to a presidential election in which his father waxes lyrical about wanting to remove APC from power is not a good look.
Absolutely.
It's not a good look, we agree. Abbas says, if you can't convince your family members to join your party, is it me you want to come and convince? Abbas says. Our next tweet is from, can we have the next tweet, please? Daniel Rega. Daniel Rega says, so you are concerned about the poor performance of the APC that has been deemed incompetent and corrupt, or have no issues with your son joining the same political party with the same leaders in charge? Interesting, Daniel Rega says. And Samuel Ozonna says, two things are either obviously in play here. One, Atiku sent his son to the ABC to spite the party. Or two, Tinubu bought over Atiku's son to make a cajole of him. He can't even convince his son, but he wants to convince Nigerians. Which one do you think?
You know this thing about spy? Is it that the APC is a secret cult, or what are you spying? What are they doing that you can't see in the open? So I don't buy this argument of somebody is a mole, you are spying. Everything is done in the open. Matthew
Emeka Wanoyin says, you guys decided not to put your eggs in one basket. Investing in ADC while your son invested in APC, that to you guys is a smart investment, but Nigerians are keenly watching.
We guys are watching.
Father figure, make Atiku go rewrite in will.
Haba.
He never reached like that. And that's what Nigerians are saying about it. But we want to hear what you're saying about it as well. We're streaming live on YouTube via New Central TV Live. Drop your comments, and we'll take your comment on YouTube when we come back after this break. I'll be taking other stories as well, so please stay with us. Welcome back. I'll take one tweet on YouTube about the story of Atiku and his son, and then we'll move to our next story.
What did you say?
Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
No, you said we'll take one what on YouTube?
One comment on YouTube.
Oh, good.
Benga.
Today's Friday. Let's be guided.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my Oga. Olaitan Ishola says, Atiku's son joins APC, or joining APC shows the ticket of ADC will be zoned to the ADC. I don't understand that comment.
What's the name of the commenter?
Olaitan Ishola.
Olaitan, are you sure you are awake fully?
A cup of coffee. Maybe he wanted to say
you
this
need
will
a
be
cup
zoned
of coffee.
to the APC. Maybe what he tried to say.
Or you can correct yourself and send the message.
Maybe what he meant to say is that the ticket of ADC will be zoned to the APC. I don't know how that is going to work. But let's move to our next story. Like a storm that fizzled before it could even strike. The defamation case filed by the federal government against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was struck out on Thursday, that was yesterday, by Justice Chizoba Orji of the Abuja High Court following the prosecution's unexpected application to discontinue the matter. A move the defense did not oppose. The case had accused the senator of making damaging allegations against Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, including claims of a plot to kill her and links to the death of Imore in Niobong, all of which she firmly denied. Her lawyer, West Idausa, requested the matter be struck out and that all documents belonging to the senator and her sureties be returned, which the court granted. Speaking to journalists after the ruling, Senator Natasha described the outcome as a triumph of justice, saying, "This is not just a personal victory, but a reaffirmation of the power of truth and the resilience of our democracy," while expressing gratitude to her legal team, her supporters, the president, and the constituents for her unwavering support. Let's look at the video and we'll come to share our thoughts.
The withdrawal of these two federal government cases against me only proves what we've always known, that these cases were maliciously instigated by two individuals who misused power to their advantage in witch hunting an innocent person, which is myself. But I'd like to extend a sincere appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for having been briefed the truth and in his commitment to justice, ordered the discontinuance of the two cases. I have never doubted that Nigeria is a land of possibilities and that the truth somehow will always get one vindicated. So now I can actually rest and resume my work fully, because it's been a whole lot.
Well, you hear it from Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's mouth. She's grateful to her constituents. In fact, there's a much longer video. In the much longer video, she thanks, after thanking the president, she thanks her constituents. She thanks her darling husband. Her husband is by the corner.
That's so romantic.
And she moves him and says, come to the corner.
Oh, that's cute. Happy Valentine's Day.
I was just like, are you pushing calm down? It's because we are wearing red. I have started Valentine already. And then she thanks her husband. And she says, thank you for believing even when I didn't believe, and for supporting me. It was quite an emotional video.
Can we say the storm is over? Because if you do recall, a short while ago, over the Christmas period, Senate President Godswill Akpabio,
I think it was earlier this year.
I did say, or earlier this year, in the New Year message, that there was a sermon in church and he just had an epiphany, and he had directed his lawyers to withdraw cases against people that have hurt him.
Yeah, and Senator Natasha Akpoti was supposed to be one of them, because he said he homily touched him. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that case has been withdrawn.
Maybe they need to replay the homily again so it can touch him more. Or maybe the lawyers weren't. But these things, maybe procedural steps and certain issues. But I believe, since he said it on camera in the full view of the world, it would happen.
Well, fingers crossed.
So when that happens, does it mean the storm is over?
No, it's not. It doesn't mean the storm is over, because she also has cases in court. Is she going to see her cases through to a logical conclusion? Or is she also going to withdraw her case against them?
That's true.
So the storm isn't
But
quite
in the
over.
principle of reciprocity.
It's not a principle of
reciprocity. And she
reciprocity.
also has the upcoming storm next year, because rumors have it that the White Lion
is
eyeing her Senate seat. So
we'll
see how it goes. And the White Lion also has a serious case with the EFCC. So who knows? We'll see how that goes.
That's another issue to highlight there.
And in case you're wondering who the White Lion is,
the White Lion is the former
with,
governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, who has a huge case to answer to the EFCC. But instead, the rumors flying around are that he's gunning for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's seat. What that will mean, we do not know. We, however, know that he's in cahoot with the current governor of Kogi State, rather. And we recall that the current governor had said, if I tell you to do something and he tells you to do something, listen to him.
If you could also recall, in the Kogi State's Christmas party, he had a front row seat with the governor, and he was really dancing, giving them really steps. He didn't look like he had any problem in this world. So that's just typical of the white line.
Well, regarding the issue of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the federal government withdrawing its case against her, let's see what Nigerians are saying. But you can share your thoughts on YouTube as well, and we'll come back to take some comments. Benga?
Aisha Yusufu says, the injustice was not sustained. One of the most fulfilling actions I took in 2025 was coming out to stand firmly with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. I promised she would not walk alone. And I stood by those words. It was rewarding being with her in court today as the federal government discontinued the 2 cases that should have never been instituted against her. Senator Natasha famously and defiantly stated last year that this injustice shall not be sustained. Indeed, the injustice was not sustained. It was so heartwarming to hear that on my birthday, 12th of December, the federal government decided to be honorable and send a letter of discontinuance, even though it took a month for the letter to be heard in court and the case struck out. I say a big thank you to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for fighting and waking up the courage in our nation. Many have now seen that it is not okay to be silent in the face of injustice. And to her husband, I Chief Emmanuel Orisejolomi Uduaghan, the Alema of Warri Kingdom, who has shown what true love and family support is truly about.
Wow.
That's from
That was
Aisha
quite
a lengthy one.
Lengthy one.
Ifeoluwa Ayomide says, everything in politics for this country, at least justice prevailed here. Okay. Ewale Kende says, if Natasha had no support Tinubu for re-election, make I bend. Tinubu made this possible by telling the Attorney General to withdraw the case against her. Many people don't know this. And some won't say this. Okay. Next tweet, please. It's Ermat Singin says, so all she said is true. Why is Senate President of Nigeria, Godswill Akpabio, not brought to book? No, he did say the withdrawal doesn't mean everything she said is true. For a reason or for one reason or the other, the federal government discontinued the case. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. It doesn't mean a good verdict for the Senate President. Lord Clinton says, charges withdrawn, case struck out. What does this mean for Senator Natasha Akpoti's political future? You know, Aisha Yusufu in her tweet said the case shouldn't have been brought against her in the first place, and I believe so. The Ministry of Justice and the Attorney General's office has serious cases of national importance that are bedeviling the nation, and to be, I mean, for me, these are minor squabbles. You have cases of terrorism financiers, you have cases of terrorists that are pending, you have to decongest the Nigerian prisons. Over 70% of inmates are awaiting trial inmates in our correctional facilities, and then you're spending taxpayers' money, precious legal time on chasing shadows. So I believe the presidency and the federal government made the right decision in discontinuing this case. So
we'll continue to follow up with that and see if the Senate President keeps to his word and if she also discontinues her matter. But now to our next story. A survivor of the June 2025 Yelewata massacre in Benue State, Frank Uto, a former principal special assistant to the Benue State governor on project implementation on January 14, 2026, testified before the United States Congress accusing the Nigerian government of downplaying deadly attacks on Christian communities in the Middle Belt. Speaking inside the U.S. House of Representatives, Uto said villages continue to be attacked and families displaced while authorities focus on image management rather than security. He cited reports that the Office of the National Security Advisor, led by Nuhu Ribadu, approved the use of $9 million in unbudgeted public funds to hire U.S.-based lobbying firm DCI Group through Kaduna-based intermediary Asta Legal, including an initial $4.5 million 6-month retainer. Uto warned that spending millions abroad cannot replace protection at home, as his testimony intensifies international scrutiny of Nigeria's handling of religious violence. Let's look at this video and we'll come to share our thoughts.
Just numbers. These are not just disposables or expendables. These are family relatives. For every number you have in Nigeria, these are my cousins, these are my siblings. As I talk to you right now, my father's youngest son, my youngest sibling is just 3 years old. He's in the IDP camp. And this morning, he was fed with just a pack of noodles. They were given a pack of noodles, 4 of them, to share a single pack of noodles. 4 people. A single pack of noodles. My direct sibling, youngest sibling, is 3 years old. My father's 2 wives are in the IDP camp because my father was polygamous. I have 13 siblings. They are all in the IDP camp. My father was acting in local parentage to the children of his dead siblings. So he was a father to about 42 other kids. They are all in the IDP camp. My father was the village head of Yerwata, the village which was the epicenter of the June attack, the worst attack in the history of the world in 2025, where 278 people were killed in a single night. It never happened anywhere in the world. It happened in my village, my community, my own relatives. So, I am the final authority in exactly what is happening, not the Nigerian government. We do not believe they will tell any other side than the side they've been saying. Because many of them are the enablers of what is happening. And now today, instead of the Nigerian government to focus on solving this issue, they are spending millions of dollars of unbudgeted funds, taxpayers' money, for optics to the lobbyists. That is exactly what is happening. That money could have solved the issue. The $9 million could have solved the issue of what's on ground. And returned as they continue to launder their image, our people are still in the IDP camp with no plan for them to go back home to their ancestral lands. Their ancestral lands are right now in the hands of the Fulanis.
I mean, there you have it, the testimony there in Congress, a very, very sad one. And as he did describe what he went through in the village of Yerwata. But what I find very instructive is the $9 million that the federal government has decided to pay lobbying firms to help, pass on the message that the federal government is doing something about the Christian persecution in Nigeria, and which a lot of people find quite unfortunate. That money could have been put to better use in the country in securing lives of Nigerians, and also in helping to resettle the victims of this violent extremist groups that have been affected by the terrorism.
All right, let's take reactions from X. I completely share same sentiments with Binga. It's money that could have used for something else. Nigeria is not a serious country that wants the genocide ravaging Christians to stop. And to make matters worse, Tinubu is never in charge of the affairs of the country. Really? I asked for obtain time. What is National Security Advisor still doing in office? A terrorist sympathizer? Wow. Let's move on to the next one, please. Unfortunately, we can't take that one. The federal government has $9 million to spend, but cannot pay lecturers, medical doctors, or teachers well. They have been borrowing and borrowing without creating the needed infrastructure or technology to pull its over 130 million naira out of multidimensional 30 million people out of multidimensional poverty. Millions are in IDP camps without hope, Cosmos Ogiri says. All right, that's all the tweets that we can take. And just to quickly correct, Olaitan Shola says, I meant to say the ADC presidential ticket will be zoned to the south. Thank you for that. Mokunye Chukwemeka says, it's sad seeing our dirty linen spread outside, but when the government of the day sees insecurity as normal, I don't mind. How can we be living in IDP camps in our country when there's no war? He also asked, why did the federal government...
He hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's absolutely shameful. And you saw that video in Kogi State yesterday of those minors, the aged people that were kidnapped, and we're not doing anything about it. Our Senate is not even calling to listen to victims. There's no psychosocial support nothing to get back
The
to get them
Church
back to
members who were
life.
released. It's really sad
paying millions
to see
of
how
dollars
things have turned out
for optics
in Nigeria. But we'll continue to explore the story. We still have another 2 hours, 30 minutes to go, so please don't go away. Let's bring you our top stories today on Breakfast Central. Top stories this morning: Lagos State government's 20.6 billion naira lawmakers vehicles budget, 212 million naira for office furnitures. These spark outcry. The EU removes Nigeria from high-risk financial list. Good news. We'll talk about what that means there. Opposition knocks federal government over alleged $9 million US lobbying deal, which is a story we started with and we'll delve into further. Armed Forces Remembrance Day. South-South and Southeast governors, others salute Nigeria's fallen heroes. We'll review the newspaper front pages and open the phone lines. Join us for all these and more.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Reports have revealed that the federal government of Nigeria signed a $9 million lobbying contract with a United States firm to help manage Nigeria's reputation abroad, particularly amidst growing international criticism over security challenges at home. But instead of quelling concerns, the deal has sparked intense scrutiny. Critics argue the move exposes a diplomatic vacuum created by the prolonged absence of appointed ambassadors, leaving Nigeria increasingly dependent on expensive foreign lobbyists.
The contract, facilitated through a Washington-based firm with political connections, was reportedly intended to help counter negative narratives about the country, particularly allegations of targeted violence against communities. But critics say it raises deeper questions about diplomatic capacity, transparency, and national priorities. To help us unpack these developments and what they mean for Nigeria's foreign policy and credibility on the world stage, we're joined by global affairs analyst Ejike Okpa and former member of the House of Representatives and member of the ADC, Cedric Ogun. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Ejike Okpa. This $9 million US lobbying contract, it would seem from the reports we have, to clean Nigeria's image. Was that really necessary? Was it important for Nigeria to do that? And why would we have to pay that much, if at all?
I live in Texas, and, I ran for mayor, I ran for Congress, and all of that stuff. I tell you, even the city of Dallas, they have to lobby the Texas legislature for certain things, to come to Dallas. But when you look at it, the case of Nigeria, $9 million, compared to what some other countries spend, Mexico and Canada, two countries that are next door to America, if I tell you how much they spend, you'll be shocked. But the point is, like you said in your opening, since Tinubu got in there, no ambassador has been appointed. That's 2.5 years. So it makes you wonder if Nigeria is a significant country in Africa and America is a country they want to build relationship with or have relationship with, how come up until that now no ambassador has been appointed, but you single-handedly spending $9 million. If you look at what it takes to run the Nigerian embassy in Washington, D.C., it's not even that kind of money. So I think the question should be the legislature, the Nigerian National Assembly. How did they come about this? How did they select the company that is doing this? Because if you're going to lobby an American company, you have to be registered under what they call FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act. So this company that is doing it, you have to go in and say, how long have they registered? You can Google their name. Go to FARA and see who is lobbying who. See, and then the Kaduna-based law firm that they said engages people. What is the relationship they have? There are a lot of questions that needs to be asked. And then Nigerians have to be convinced that at the end of the day, they're going to get, value for their money. But do you know when Obasanjo was there, Andrew Young, under his Good Works International, was paid a ton of money for the 8 years Obasanjo was there to lobby American government. What did Nigeria get for it? For lobbyist. You have to have a relationship. You have to have somebody who believes in your own success. And then they will come to say, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. But you can pay somebody money, and at the end, they won't do anything for you. When Kabila was in Congo, he was paying a lobbying firm tons of money. You can Google it again. And at the end, what did DRC get? A lot of the African countries don't have strategy on how to engage Americans. They don't. Regardless of people who come here, get a PhD and run home, if you don't have effective relationship here, if you haven't been invested and worked with Americans and know how to engage them, you won't get anything out of it. And that has eluded Nigeria, despite the fact that the first Nigerian that was recorded to have entered America in 1918, 4 years after amalgamation, was a Calabar man. And still Nigerians still come to America and behave as if they are strangers. That's more than a decade. They are Nigerian-born Americans, they are American Nigerians. And what are we getting out of this?
Thank you, Mr. Ejikeopa. I'd like to bring Mr. Sergius going into the conversation. Is lobbying not a fancy word for bribery? Because Nigerians will be wondering that if you're doing the work that you're supposed to do, if you're appealing to your own constituents, which are Nigerians, and if you're working towards making their lives better, you're securing their lives, aren't they the people you should be spending this money on bettering their lot? Why would Nigeria need to pay foreign lobbyists to manage its own image, especially when the country has a diplomatic relationship with the United States of America? It has embassies and diplomatic missions abroad. If we're going to lobby every other country that we have relationships with, then we'll be left with nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, I think lobbying on its own is not a bad thing. Especially in the US, you have companies registered, they are lobbyists, and they walk the corridors of Parliament and the White House. But this is the thing, even when I was in Parliament, I remember when they brought the PIB, the Petroleum Industry Bill then, the NNPC henchmen, the group CEO, okay, then was the CEO, and some other top men in NNPC were walking the corridors of the National Assembly. And I remember saying, even on national television, that when the ministers bring the budget or before the budget, if they walk the corridors of the National Assembly like that, the issues we usually have with the budget, we will not have. Because it gives you an opportunity to explain in detail what you want or what you are bringing. And then the parliamentarians will also let you know where this might not fly or this is what we are thinking. So when you do that, by the time you bring the budget, we would have already agreed to a large extent. So the back and forth will not be there. So, and that is what I think is going on right now, because in America, this is recognized. And there are usually people that give money to elected parliamentarians or even the president. So it's something that is recognized and it's something that is done. But
what's the end goal, sir? What's the end goal at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Yeah, the end goal is to let the government know this is what we want, to sell your idea to the government. You know, this is what we want. But the challenge we have right now, like my brother that spoke earlier said, if you have an ambassador, you have the entire consulate, okay, if you have an ambassador and their team, they will sell. They will be the ones doing the footwork right now to say, well, maybe there's genocide or there's no genocide, or, well, whatever is happening in Nigeria is not affecting only one religion. But this is the position of government. But that is not there. And we have said this, so many times. We do not know why this government did not appoint ambassadors. I don't know what money they are saving. But right now, to be fair to say, this is not the first time this government is doing this.
All right.
If you remember when they were in opposition, they lobbied Obama's henchmen then to support the APC. And they said all manner of things about the then PDP and how they were weak, and they put so many things out there.
Okay.
And they saw the idea that by the time you bring a Muslim, that Muslim leader would be able to take on Boko Haram, and the Northerners would not see it as an affront.
Ms. Agun, let's take a pause on that. I will come back and dig in a bit deeper. Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversations. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We'll continue the conversation this morning. We have our guests, Mr. Sergius Ogun and Ejike Okpa, who are talking to us about the federal government's contract to, many would say it's to paint a positive image of our country. Mr. Ogun, you've said that this is not the first time that the federal government is doing this, but the question that we often hear, or we've heard Nigerians ask, is a government that has something to prove, like the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You show working, really. You don't have to pay that much. The argument is $9 million to paint a positive image about a work that is being done. The facts should speak for itself. We're in a country that is plagued by incredibly high levels of insecurity. Just a few days ago, yesterday we took the story about the ECWA church members who were kidnapped. Some of them had been released. There were others that were still in captivity. The reports had it that ransom was being paid for these people. So not only did the government fail them in the area of protecting them in the first instance, but the government also failed them in ensuring that they were returned back to their families, because they had to, from the reports that we're seeing, they had to pay ransom. So shouldn't the focus be on maybe putting that money into rehabilitating IDP camps, or just in areas that need money, as opposed to trying to paint a positive image about Nigeria to the United States?
Absolutely, I agree with you. I was just trying to lay the foundation over that, what this government is doing. So I have said it repeatedly. When this government was sworn in 2023, they started campaigning immediately for 2027. And what I said then, you could have put all that energy into governance. So if we are talking about $9 million paid to lobbyists, I think that is the official money paid to the firm. I think a whole lot more would have gone under the table, would have been paid under the table. And we've also heard before now that we actually have that this government or the president has a team, a lobbyist team in America working on against all those issues that were raised on his education and his background before the election. That most of those releases that are supposed to be done by the American government were not done. So I give it to the president, he's a smart person, but hey, this is what we are facing in this country today. Governance. If you give attention to governance, most of these things will not come up. But the truth is, this is politics. People raised it, the American government are concerned, and you do not expect the government to put their arms, knowing the kind of government we have in power today. So they will do what they are doing. Like I was saying earlier, they did this in the formation of APC. You know, when they sold the idea to the Obama government that a Muslim government, a Muslim president would handle the Boko Haram better. Actually, there's a guy that spoke on this on one of your sister stations then, that how they met Michelle Obama and how they heard from Obama directly that they would support a Muslim president. So if they did it and succeeded then, when they were not in government, why would they not do it now that they're in government? So it's a way of sending that message through the back channel. And I dare say, you say it's a lot of money. Yeah, the second challenge is, was it appropriated for? They would not appropriate for this because they have something they call in government service-wide votes. They put all manner of things in there so that they will not have to go to the National Assembly. But in any case, like they say today, this is the rubber stamp National Assembly. If they had put it in the budget, it will go through.
Now, let me bring back Mr. Ejikeopa in Texas into the conversation. I want us to dig deeper into the workings of these lobbying groups in Washington. Are there things that they can't be lobbied? Because if you look at the personality of Mr. Donald Trump, he seems to have his mind made up on a number of issues, and it's quite very hard to get into his head when he's made up his mind about certain decisions or issues he wants to take. And do the lobbyists, do they have what it takes to change the reality of what is on ground? Because earlier during our program, we did play the video of a Nigerian who testified in Congress about how his village was attacked, how they killed over 200 people. I mean, that he was in Washington giving that testimony to Congress. And if you pay lobbyists $9 million, they're not going to change that story. They're not going to alter the reality. So it makes their job a tall order. How do they walk around this sort of issues?
No, I want to make a distinction between, lobbying and bribing. When you're bribing, you don't want it to be disclosed. When you're lobbying, you want to be disclosed. In the case of America, you have to be registered. And like I said, if you go to the Foreign Agents Registration Act, you can see who is lobbying who. And lobbying is totally a different thing, like a media influence. If you want to launder the Nigerian image, what you got to do, you don't even have to engage Congress. You can go to major media outlets and you begin to buy what they call advertorial and begin to publish, issues. This is, when you do advertorial, it is your message that is being accepted by this media. It could be TV, it could be radio. You could have where in areas where you have a lot of Nigerians, which is the New York, Texas, and California, those media, radio, whatever. And then for 1 month, you could be putting out messages that favor or influence Americans' perception about Nigeria. Now, when you start to lobby, it has to have a scope of work. What exactly is Nigerian hiring these guys to do? Do you want them to go in there and change their mind about America? Maybe there are certain laws or regulations that is negatively affecting Nigeria that you want them to change. So where is that law? Is the law already existing or you want to introduce new ones? How do you engage the legislative arm? What committee in Congress, the House and the Senate are you going to be interacting with? It is not the White House. So remember, the White House does certain things, at the executive level. So are you looking at the legislation, which is the law, and the White House has nothing to do with it? But if it is just for the president, then what you have to do is, again, it's an influence thing, because, you got to find somebody who can go in there, in a meeting, in a social gathering or a dinner event and say, Mr. President, hey, blah, 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 yada, yada. I can tell you what I have done when I have hosted the governor of Texas in my home. And some people, for whatever, because they know he's coming to my home, they can say, hey, we want to make a contribution to this. And I say, come on, when you come in, I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. You can stand by and talk to him. That's not lobbying, but that's how you can reach the executive. So what your media people need to do, or members of Nigerian House of Assembly, is to demand a copy to see what the scope of assignment is. What are they supposed to lobby on behalf of Nigeria? At that time is when you're going to see, do they even have the capacity to do it? How long have these people, been in the lobbying business? Have they lobbied any other African country on behalf of America, or somebody just happens to have a relationship with somebody in Aso Rock and they say, hey, we can do this, and they already registered something, and all of a sudden, they are in the media lobbying. Like I said, when Obasanjo was there, Andrew Young, Good Works International was the company he was using, was doing a lot of lobbying for Nigeria, but what Nigeria get out of it for 8 years? Obasanjo couldn't even get, a state dinner at the White House. So it depends on what you want to do. Like I said earlier, if you want to launder Nigerian image, go to the media. If you want to get a legislative agenda that favor Nigerian regulations, like this visa restriction, You have to talk about how do you get that restriction to be removed, and that's why you engage the House, what is their name, State Department and the White House. And there's a tall order, because like when I heard this announcement, I said, this is medicine after death. If you reach many Nigerians in this country who have a relationship with some of the people in Washington, D.C., they could have done a better job for Nigeria. But this is one of those tribal things that Nigeria do, because you can never, it's hard for Nigerians to get away from tribalism. If you look at what Tinubu has done, look at the people that are in his cabinet. Where is the majority? It's not about the capacity to deliver. It's not about even the scope of understanding of what needs to be done. It is, hey, you're my village man, you're my tribesman, come on, let's go do this. And that is why Nigeria is suffering. Like I said, this is the biggest African country, and you still haven't developed a strategy that other African countries can copy and paste. It's not a very hard thing. It's not like in the 50s when Nigerians come here, grab their degree and go home. Now we have Nigerians who go to school, work in this system, are politically engaged, politically active, have a more better relationship, engage them, ask them, hey, what would it take for you to do X, Y, Z for us? Without it costing a whole lot of money. Relationships, sometimes when you engage properly, it doesn't cost you money. When the governor of Texas came to my home, which is his third time in 2025, I reached out to a lot of Nigerian governors and said, hey, come to my home. You don't even have to make it an official. And when I introduce you, then you can make it say, hey, Mr. Governor, would like to invite you to Nigeria. It will be easy for you to do. But if you go to Austin to approach him, it's not going to happen. Americans are a relationship-driven country. It has nothing to do with your degree in international relations. All those things Nigerians put out there to make it look like it's nothing. If you get somebody who knows somebody in America, something happens on your behalf.
Mr. Ejike, how do you respond to those who would say that this lobbying, it might in some way legitimize the claims, what they're trying to avoid, that going this extra mile to prove, to pay for this huge sum will legitimize the claims of the Christian genocide that they are trying to avoid?
But you don't know whether the scope of service they are giving is to logic about that genocide. You don't know. Have you reviewed their engagement letter? That's what I'm saying. You guys need to, I don't know if you know whether Nigeria has the Freedom of Information Act, where you can request something.
Yes,
if they do, your media house should, through your own agents, that interact with the National House of Assembly and request to see what is the scope of service. It is on the basis of the scope of service that you can start asking questions. But if it's just to speculate about them lobbying, we can go from here to Z and we'll never narrow down to what it is they're going to do.
Yeah, let me also give a bit of details, just so there's a contract, right? And the agreement was signed by Oyetunji Olalekan-Teslim, who's the managing partner of Asta Legal, and Justin Peterson, who's the managing member of DCI Group. This was signed on the 17th of December 2025. According to the contract details, the American lobbying firm is expected to, quote open, assist the Nigerian government through Asta Legal in communicating its actions to protect Nigerian Christian communities and maintaining U.S. support in countering West African jihadist groups and other destabilizing elements. And it was agreed that this contract would be automatically renewed for another 6 months.
So this it's a one item thing. It's just about the genocide. Is that what it is?
Sorry?
I said it's a single item scope of service, specifically about the killing of Christians in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Okay, so the question needs to be asked is, okay, are you lobbying the American to change a restriction that affects this stuff, affects Nigeria on this, or are you just lobbying them to say there's no genocide in Nigeria?
Well, I guess it's them that will be able to answer what exactly the...
But I'd like to bring
that.
Mr. Sergius Ogun back into the conversation. As a former lawmaker and a member of the opposition ADC, your party has issued a statement condemning this through your National Publicity Secretary. I also want to know if there is any issue that arises, any legal issue, knowing that this was made possible by the Office of the National Security Advisor? Do these sorts of things come under his purview?
I don't know, I heard everything you said, but the biggest challenge, okay, just to put it in context, the guy in that photograph on the right-hand side of my screen is Osemege, is a brother from Edo State, and who was an aspirant, a gubernatorial aspirant. Yes, the guy on the right was a gubernatorial aspirant of the Labour Party in Edo State in the 2024 elections. So we were all gubernatorial aspirants together in Labour Party. So it's a good thing that they are also going in there to the capital in the US to also give our own perspective of what is happening here. So yeah, talking about, I said earlier, that the $9 million, like you just read out, is for a single item. But we are aware that these people have a contract with other lobbyists not to bring anything negative about this president or to take it to the White House. And like I will agree completely that if that money is spent back home on some of these issues, we would have solved the problems. So going forward, we should tax this government to do the right thing, because everything about this government is just the next election. They are not concerned about you and I. They are not concerned about the country. Win the next election. APC came in with so much propaganda because they just want to grab the power. Now you have the power. You cannot rule with propaganda. Hit the ground running. So this is the biggest challenge we have. Yes, what I will also tell my party, the opposition, the APC started this in 2013, 2014 when they were in opposition. Like I was saying earlier, they took up the issue, but I heard that then the northern group was saying that they would go to ICC to charge, and I did then the Lieutenant General Hijirika, who was the chief of army staff, to say he was killing the northerners and Muslims. So they took this single line item and went to America and lobbied the guys around Obama. That's how they got Obama to support Buhari then. That if you have a Muslim president, they will quell this whole thing. So this is what is playing out again. So my advice would be, now that we didn't have social media like this, the opposition also should have a group there to also sell our own narrative.
Now, Mr. Ogo, I want to
do this.
I would like to follow up with you on this question. Nigeria is a sovereign nation at the end of the day. You're a former lawmaker that served Nigeria. And listening to this conversation, it almost seems like America is a party. It's an extension or an appendage, or Nigeria is an appendage of the United States of America. Granted, the USA is the most powerful country in the world, but we seem to be more focused. You know, both opposition, the ruling party, everyone wants to be in America's good books. We almost even forget the people that elected them into power. We want to, it's almost like we want to show who has access to the big brother and to this United States of America. Where is our sovereignty in all of this? When are we going to look inwards and say, you know what, we're a country, we're the giants of Africa. We do recognize the importance of partnerships, but let's try and fix things instead of just running to the United States at the slightest opportunity, inconvenience. Yes.
Well, America is Uncle Sam. They are big, and they came in here. They sent, what's his name now, Trump, sent just one tweet, got this president to remove all the billboards, all the campaign billboards from the airport to the city gate and from, what's it called now, the Third Mainland Bridge. So they got the attention of the president of America. So, but that's by the way. In diplomacy, all countries do it. When I was in the National Assembly, ambassadors and people from the embassy, from different embassies, they come to the National Assembly. They talk to us on issues. There are bills and motions that we are sponsoring. They know when that affects their country, they send people to us. There was once I brought a bill on plastics that passed, the plastics, using of plastic bottles and papers and all. a team came that met a colleague of mine that was no longer in the assembly. He was in the 8th assembly, was not in the 9th assembly. And there were a group of Americans and some EU people, representing big companies. The guy invited me for a dinner in his house, and they were all there, basically saying that this will not fly and all that. I said, well, we have done our bit in the House of Reps. It's gone to the Senate. So if you want to lobby anybody at all, you should go to the Senate. So this is always done behind the scene. So it's not just a case of those in government going to Washington and opposition also going there. Yeah, well, I want to use the word Americans are bullies, but today where they stand, they can determine who's going to be the next president of Nigeria. Absolutely. Like they did in 2015. So it would be wise to go there and lobby them. But that's what they say they are not.
So what happens to millions of Nigerian voters, and why do we even waste our time with INEC if the United States can decide who becomes president of Nigeria?
Well, we don't have to like it. This happens all the time, all over the world. Like I said, if you have you listened to Jonathan? Jonathan said then, absolutely. Okay, I don't know how much time we have. I am in the private sector. I was in the private sector before I went to serve in the House of Representatives. On the day of my election in 2015, an American that used to buy a lot of equipment from called me. We talk a lot, we chat a lot on emails then. 2015, we didn't have a lot of social media like this. So he called me and asked me, how's the election going? I said, going very well. I'm very sure I'm going to win. We're about to count the votes. This was about 5:30 p.m. my time. And he said to me, the information we have is that Nigeria is going to have a new government. And I laughed at him. I said, no, that's not correct. This is Saturday. The earliest we're going to know the result will be Monday or Tuesday. And he told me, well, Sergius, that's the information we have here. And what happened? So the Western world were against Jonathan. That's why maybe to a large extent, Jonathan didn't want to fight the outcome of the election. Yes, we will vote, but the big powers, when they support you, they will have their way. That's just how it works in international diplomacy.
Okay, I think we'll be wrapping up the conversation, but let's get final thoughts from Mr. Ejike Okpa regarding this. How do you think we should proceed?
I see you have a big grin on your
going
face.
Forward. And I'm sure you have something to say in response to what Mr. Ogun had said regarding the U.S.'s influence on Nigerian elections. Really strong claims there.
Look, no country is in isolation. Interrelationships, diplomatic and regional and all of that stuff. You just have to find out which country you can align with in order to get your own agenda carried out. America needs something from Nigeria. Nigeria needs something from America. The point is, when you spend money as a government entity, you are looking at what they call cost-benefit analysis. When you are doing an investment, is return on and return off. So it is hard to quantify what Nigeria is going to get out of this lobbying effort. So, if it is to change the perception of Nigeria, is that the best way to do it? What if you are going to Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Houston Chronicle, LA Times, and issued a center page, and paid money and say, hey, send this, You could have reached many Americans, influenced them, the perception, and you could now put information there for them to go Google and read up, as opposed to going in and doing and picking something when at the end of the day, the legislation, you're not going to get it done. The White House, you're not going to get it, get them influenced because the president has some perception about Tinubu and the president has perception about what has gone on in Nigeria. So if it's the American people you are trying to influence, you don't need a lobbying firm, you need the media to do it. There's a show called, A Wheel of Fortune. You could have gone over there. Nigeria could have gone over there and sponsored some, trivial and Nigeria, and say, if you win this, you come visit Nigeria, blah, blah, blah. That TV program has millions of people that watch it. So again, this is one of those things, that I call medicine after death. But in terms of money-wise, it's not a whole lot of money. Of course, when you change it in Naira, it's like you need a truck to move that money. But in terms of American money, $9 million, it's not even something anybody can blink at. Because if you go Google what Mexico and Canada used to lobby America in order to have the trade relationship they have, It is it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
All right.
So, but they're getting something. So the thing is, the Nigerian people, like Mr. Ogun said, is how was this money appropriated? Was it already in the budget? Was this one of those reactions? They're going to say, okay, the president can do it, go do it.
All right, Mr. Okpa, we have to wait to continue to follow this story and get the pulse of Nigerians, as well as expect some form of accountability and transparency from our government. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sergio Sogo and Mr. Ejike Okpa.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, let's tell you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central this morning. Lagos State government approves 20.6 billion naira for lawmakers. European Union drops Nigeria from financial risk list. And Dele Momodu declares for the ADC opposition party. We'll bring you this and more this morning on Breakfast Central. Do stay with us. The European Union has removed Nigeria from its list of high-risk financial jurisdictions. According to Business Insider, the European Union confirmed on Wednesday that Nigeria, along with South Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mozambique, and Tanzania, has strengthened their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing frameworks and no longer show strategic deficiencies under EU standards. The Commission noted that reforms implemented by the affected countries aligned with their financial systems with the international benchmark set by the Financial Action Task Force.
After Brexit, the UK established its own standalone list of high-risk countries for anti-money laundering and terrorist financing purposes, separate from the EU list. Under the UK's money laundering regulations, countries are designated as high risk based on the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, lists of high-risk jurisdictions. We're joined this morning by the economist Bolahon Olojede to break this down. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
All right. Nigeria has initiated many reforms since the Tinubu administration. Our economy is expanding moderately with growth rate average of about 7.378 to about 3.9% in 2025. Are you able to tell what metrics the UK would have used to decide to delist Nigeria and what level of economic stability would have been required for that?
Well, the issue of, what has just happened is premised also on the fact that we were removed from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force in 2025. Now, the Financial Action Task Force, which is an informal, which is something which was set up by the G7, considers certain financial risk within the financial systems of certain countries to determine whether they will be on the blacklist. There's a list called the blacklist. That is the no list. Then you have the grey list, which is where Nigeria was until it got removed in 2025. Now, essentially, that list is based on certain weaknesses in the financial system. Weaknesses along two major issues. Number one is money laundering, and number two is counter-terrorism financing. So when your financial system is said to be weak along those lines, then they put you on the grey list or on the blacklist in an extreme situation. And what is required is also clear. Those weaknesses that have been identified, you are expected to improve on those weaknesses and you can be pulled out of the grey list. That is what Nigeria has done. Interagency cooperation between the NFIU, EFCC, and the CBI and all of that has improved over the period, and that created the basis for the monitoring team to come around, take a look at what is going on, do some inspection, monitoring, and all that stuff, and agree that, okay, at this level, Nigeria needs to be pulled off the FATF grey list. Based on being pulled out of that is what we're now seeing with UK or EU, as the case may be. UK and EU are members of the FATF.
All right.
Now that we've been pulled out of this grey list, what does it mean for Nigeria going forward?
It is financial credibility.
Significance of it?
Yeah. What it says in summary is that, look, the Nigerian financial system is credible as far as issues of, as far as the framework on issues around money laundering and counterterrorism financing is concerned. So the FATF and the UK and European Union are saying we are comfortable with the financial system of Nigeria as far as those issues are concerned. So what could have been, what that means is that foreign investors who are looking into making investment into Nigeria are going to be much less worried about issues of money laundering and counterterrorism financing, in Nigeria. And that is good. That is definitely good for the country. Then the cost of compliance issue, because some investors who might want to come will be like, okay, when Nigeria was still on the grey list, you now have to run a lot of clarification, a lot of compliance issues to be sure that you're not walking into money laundering and all those other things. But now the cost of that compliance has become lower because the countries that put us on the list have pulled us out of the list, saying we are now comfortable with what Nigeria has done in that space.
Okay, now you've spoken to the benefits and what this will mean for us financially in terms of business credibility. This decision is expected to ease trade, payments, and investment flows between Nigeria and Europe. But how do you recommend that the Nigerian government moves to utilize this opportunity?
Well, one very important thing is that whatever we do, we should not find ourselves back on that list, because we can get back on the list if we take steps that will set us backward as far as the measures we have put in place is concerned. And in a year like 2026, which is a pre-election year, there are pressures, there are things that could pull us in the direction that we do not want to go back to. So we have to be very careful about that. Then as far as, taking advantage of this is concerned, we need to make this information available to everybody, through our embassies and consulates across the world or wherever represent us. We can make that information available so that people who might not know can get to know in all the jurisdictions where we have representation.
All right.
Then within the domestic economy, our people also need to be aware of that.
I just also want a bit of clarification in the area of, you talked about us making sure that we take steps that do not take us backward. Right. And we should make sure that we do whatever we can to not ensure that we find our way back into the list. Earlier today, we had the conversation about how Nigeria has paid some money to an for lobbying externally to sort of rebrand our image in terms of saying that there isn't, communicating to the United States the efforts that have been made to ensure that Christians are being protected and that there isn't Christian genocide. Does that in any way tie to, this sort of brand perception? Does that tie to how we are also going to be perceived financially in terms of financial fiscal responsibility?
It does. If the people we are dealing with, whatever that organization is that we are dealing with, if there is no transparency as to the transaction in itself, if there is no proper KYC as to the guy that we're dealing, the institution that we're dealing with, but where we have fulfilled all the KYC requirement for, participating in such transaction or for being part of that transaction, we know who we are dealing with. We know this is not a terrorist organization, for example. We know that this is not a sanctioned organization. We know who the beneficial owners are and all of that. If we have fulfilled that, there is transparency. And anybody from the outside who is looking at that transaction and want to find out exactly what it is all about will be able to do that. So that is what is important. But if we have done it in such a way that the KYC for the organization we are dealing with is not properly put in place, so it means that if we pass money to that kind of an institution and we have not checked that this is an institution that is credible, then we might have been financing terrorism without our knowing. I'm not saying that that is what we're doing. I'm just saying that if we did not do the right thing, we might find ourselves there. A lot of spending comes with pre-election year, which is also part of what I'm saying.
Yes.
And when we're making all this spending, we must, on the top of our mind, must be issues around money laundering and terrorism financing.
Now, Mr. Olojide, to the general public watching us this morning, are there any tangible benefits from this decision? And will it impact the ordinary Nigerians who will remain within elite financial and political circles?
Well, we can all do with good news. So it is good news to know that this has happened to Nigeria. So for the ordinary citizen who has been hearing the fact that, oh, Nigeria is treated in this way, is treated in that other way, a little bit of positive news could be good for them. Number two is that as far as the man on the road is concerned, the direct impact is he cannot see it. But indirectly, if the step is going to encourage investors to be able to come into Nigeria, it means that over time, everybody will be a beneficiary of improved business environment, improved foreign direct investment in Nigeria, and that citizen will also be a beneficiary of such move.
Now, Mr. Olojide, you mentioned something earlier when my colleague did probe you on not falling back into that. There's a possibility of being falling back to the grey list. What role did domestic institutions like the CBN, EFCC, NFIU play in meeting EU FATF benchmarks? Are they adequately resourced? Is it going to become institutional, or is just a one-off thing that we pulled off?
It is actually institutional. As a matter of fact, these were the key agencies at the heart of the reform that pulled us out of the brinks of the grey list. The CBN is the supervisory body for the banks, for financial institutions. And you see, when you're talking of financial systems, financial institutions are at the heart of the financial system. So the regulatory environment, the monitoring, the compliance, as put in place by CBN is critical. It has delivered where we are, and we must sustain it. Of course, a lot of interagency cooperation is required. A lot of technology is being deployed. I lead the financial services group, and I know when I see all those, our compliance team filing all those reports, they are all done on technology platforms. So it's different from many years ago when you have to type out all those things and have it delivered physically. Now, all those agencies, they have their platforms. Whatever report you want to submit, you submit it. And even collation of some of this report have been automated. So the system in itself can pick all transactions above a certain limit and compile them and put them in a report, and they can be sent, as it were. So those agencies are critical, and they are doing a lot in the area of reporting. Reporting is one part of the reform that we're talking about. They're doing a lot, and I hope we just sustain what we have gained so far.
Very positive news there. And we really hope we sustain it. Like you said, it's become institutional. It's not just a one-off thing that Nigeria pulled off. We would like to say thank you to you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Olojide.
Thanks for always giving us your valuable time and insight here on Breakfast Central.
Thanks.
Do we have a fantastic
Thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You're welcome. The 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration in the South-South and Southeast regions in Nigeria concluded with a solemn ceremony which included the laying of wreaths at the ceremonial tombs of the unknown soldiers in each state capital. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu brings us a compilation of various events in both states.
Fallen heroes, including veterans, were honored with a solemn assembly at various designations as part of activities marking the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration in the South-South and Southeast regions of Nigeria. At the Aguero State Cenotaph in Umuahia, Abia State, Governor Alex Oti led others to lay wreath at the ceremonial tomb of the unknown soldier.
We are therefore encouraged to men to be as courageous as our compatriots who have chosen the path of military service, and to live by the principles that support character building, provides ethical compass in decision making, and confer legitimacy on institutions.
The ceremony remains the same in Edo State, South, where the governor, Senator Monday Okpebolo, led others at the museum ground of Averami Square, Benin City, to pay their respects by laying wreaths to honor the fallen heroes.
I also believe that the people that are serving Nigeria, they can see how Nigerians are honoring our heroes. So I also believe that with time, that God will preserve Nigeria to continue to honor them.
In Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, the state government hosted a humanitarian outreach for veteran soldiers and fallen heroes' families in the state.
We're humbled by their sacrifice and inspired by your resilience. On behalf of the government and the people of Rivers State, I thank our veteran, their family, and the families of our fallen heroes from Rivers State, and assure them that we will never forget their heroic legacy of service and sacrifice to the motherland. As a nation, we must continue to honor our promise to celebrate our armed forces and to honor their legacy of service and sacrifice.
In Delta State, Governor Sheriff Oborewori, service commanders and others honored Nigeria's fallen heroes with the laying of wreaths at the ceremonial tomb of the unknown soldier at the cenotaph in Asaba.
As they grow older, there are a lot of health challenges, and the arrangement made by the government for health challenges of this is not adequate. In other countries, they have retired military officers hospital where they are treated, but now even with the so-called free medical treatment, if you go to the hospitals, you only pay, what is free is only for the consultation. Every other thing, tests, drugs, we pay.
One of the things that we can do to encourage even those that are alive, who are probably protecting our territory, is to have a good legislation that will include incentives for the families of the foreign heroes. When you do that, and those who are alive, who are probably protecting the territory, they will be motivated and they will be encouraged, knowing that if they die while serving the nation, that their families will never suffer.
A minute silence was observed in honor of the fallen heroes, followed by interfaith prayers offered by Christian and Muslim clerics for the repose of the souls of the departed heroes and sustenance for the families they left behind and divine guidance for the nation's leadership.
Fill our leaders with zeal for the task.
Highlights of the ceremony were the firing of gunshots and the release of white pigeons by the governors, symbolizing peace, hope, and renewal. In Delta for News Central, Austin Azu.
Thank you, Austin Azu, for bringing us that update. I will say that it's great when we honor the memories of our fallen heroes, but I think the best way to honor them is to ensure that they live a great quality of life and that they know that if they die in the line of duty, their families are properly taken care of. So for those who are still alive, let's try to emphasize that.
That it's being changed to not just the Remembrance Day, it's also
celebration
celebrate those
and remembrance
who are still in active service and those who have, in one way, veterans of the Nigerian Armed Forces. It would be great to also, like the Major General, retired Major General there said, that, you know, they oftentimes say that the veterans, they have free medical care at government hospitals, but it's just registration. They need to go beyond registration to test and drugs and cost of treatment. So let it be holistic. Yeah.
All right, let's take the conversation to another very interesting angle, but we'll get into that when we'll come back from this break. The Lagos State government's proposed 4.237 trillion naira 2026 budget has come under scrutiny following concerns raised by former governorship candidate Funsho Doherty. In an open letter dated the 11th of December 2025 to the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Doherty questioned several expenditure items, including over 212 million naira earmarked for 20 office tables and chairs and more than 20 billion naira proposed for vehicles for 40 lawmakers.
The letter also highlighted allocations for generators, property purchases, and consultancy fees, as well as inconsistencies in budget classification and totals. The concerns further pointed to relatively low allocations to social sectors such as education and health compared with legislative spending. Joining us this morning to discuss this is Mr. Biodun Shomi. He is a public affairs analyst. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Shomi, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into the question, let's just share a quick breakdown of the Lagos State 2026 budget.
All right. The budget, of course, is a total size of 4.4 trillion naira. There's a revenue protection to the tune of 3.99 trillion naira. There's a deficit of about 243 billion naira to be financed through borrowing. There's the recurrent expenditure of 2.05 trillion naira, and then that includes salaries, overheads, debt servicing and repayment. And then there is capital expenditure to the tune of 2.18 trillion naira, which covers infrastructure and development projects. Now, concerns have been raised about inconsistencies in, our budget. And let's speak first about what this tells you. First, does this come as a surprise? But because it feels like every other cycle, we always hear about this. Funsho Doherty himself, this is not the first time that he's checking budget allocation for Lagos State. So what does this say about level of transparency and accountability?
Well, in the first instance, I would say that we've not changed from the way we've been doing things. We've always been having problems over this for over a long period of time. In the first instance, what we simply do is we take last year's budget and add new things to it or increase the spending. And it's exactly what our legislators have also been doing, both at the national and state level over the years. Now, you find yourself in a situation where even when you price a vehicle and say, look, even at the cost of 150 billion naira, a million naira, for an SUV, I mean, how much will it cost for 40? So these are common issues that should be picked up. And it's up to the the Lagos State House of Assembly to actually look into this and then make sure that it's streamlined. You can have a proposal. It does not mean it's the actual. It's what is actually appropriated for that matters. But the fact of the problem is we need to change the way we're doing our budgets one way or the other so that we continue to avoid embarrassment. Nobody should tell me that for 40 lawmakers, even if you say an SUV is 200 million naira, you will arrive at 20 billion. Of course, it's not possible. So that tells you straight away that they know people will see this because this is something that will be in the public. But it's about the way and manner we've been doing our budget to start with. That does not mean that the funds will be released for it, or you will have enough funds, to actually fund what has been appropriated for. We already know there's a problem with funding in our country. It depends on, the income from oil sector, which is again allocated, and non-oil export, which we then share at the federal level. So a lot of it depends on that. So we know, and that can fluctuate one way or the other. But the fact of the matter is we should not be having this situation to start with.
I mean, and that's what has led to a lot of tongues wagging, and people are questioning why there's lower allocations to social services like education and health, and then you have the State House of Assembly, their vehicles, their furniture, their overheads is more than what you've budgeted for health. That means 40 Lagos legislators will have more allocated to them budgetary than a population of 20 million people, which they find absurd. How do we begin? How do the people begin to question, or what remedies are available to them to check this anomalies?
If you look at the level of health spending, for me, that should increase significantly. There's no reason why Lagos State, for instance, should be spending less than 16 to 18% of its budget on health, given the population, one. Number two, we also know that migration to Lagos, is always on the increase. So therefore, you may end up having more people to cater for than what has been budgeted for. And there should be no explanation, for why 40 lawmakers, when you combine the cost of their vehicle with the tables and chairs, should be getting more than the entire population in the state. And I think these are anomalies that must be corrected one way or the other. For me, it's a wishful thinking. It cannot work in that way. We have the Mercy Children Hospital being constructed, almost nearing completion in Lagos Island and around Sura. So that's a major priority, and I can imagine how much you need to complete that project and then fund it, which is for children. I doubt whether it will not consume half of the money budgeted for health. So it's a matter of concern that we're still doing things the same way we used to do it. The idea that legislators can also, have some influence over different ministries' allocation. I'm trying to be very careful and mind my words. The idea that constituency projects can be executed under different ministries' heading, when in reality it has nothing to do with that heading. For instance, I know a place where the Ministry of Health, not in Lagos, actually constructed a road. And when questions were asked,
be their business.
It was not their business. When questions were asked, they said, okay, because the Ministry of Works was already overloaded, they could not add any other projects to it, so they had to put it somewhere else. But an engineer from the Ministry of Works will be the one to supervise it. This should not be happening. For me, it shows lack of transparency in our budgeting process. If we are budgeting for roads, it should be under the Ministry of Works. At best, Ministry of Transport. You cannot be asking or hiding that or putting that under Ministry of Health to start with. So there are a lot of things wrong with the way we are taking budget. And as far as I see it, I don't think we are placing enough emphasis on budget transparency. And
Absolutely.
That leads to a lot of questions being asked. It does not matter whether that money will be released at the end of the day or not. The issue is, how will the public perceive this? That matters a lot.
So does that communicate that there's a certain level of nonchalance that is being presented by these lawmakers? Because you know that the public is going to see this.
Or what's the
you know
worst
that
they can do?
exactly the situation of do your worst.
No, I don't think it's about do your worst. We've had major problems in this country. We remember the NSAS, the 2012 fuel subsidy protest. So I don't think it's about that. I think it's just about that's the way we've been doing it. We'll continue to do it.
Well, insanity, they say, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We'll come back to continue talking about Lagos State budget after this break. Breakfast Central, we're still x-raying Lagos State budget, and we have Mr. Biodun Showmi here with us in the studio. Thank you once again for being here. So now let's look at a budget for 4.44 trillion naira. This is what the projected total is. And there is a deficit of 243 billion naira, which is to be financed through borrowing. What is the implication of this 243 billion naira to be financed through borrowing? What implication is that for, Lagos State's capital expenditure?
In the first instance, what is the borrowing for? Is it for capital expenditure or the current expenditure? So my presumption is capital expenditure. Is it for the is it Green Line, which they want to construct? That has to be made very, very clearly so that we know we are constructing a new railway line and that money is tied to that when you say borrowing. We cannot borrow to fund gap between appropriation and money released on the current expenditure, because basically it means you are just burning the money if you are not investing it properly. Unfortunately, the details of what this will be done, for instance, is exactly what many people have been complaining about. If you are borrowing, the borrowing must be tied to a particular project. But we have not been doing that. We've been doing our budget in the same old ways to say, okay, we are going to borrow $2 billion. Okay, what are you spending it on? Those who are appropriating the bill in the budget, what are they appropriating? If you are giving permission for me to borrow money, you must tie that money to a particular project.
Line items, yes.
It should be, basically, so that in a way that you are able to monitor it and see what the money, has been used for, and then, evaluate whether that project will be in the overall, in the public interest, or will simply become a white elephant project. That has not been made very clear in the budget, and it's still the same situation in every state. It's about how we've been doing something and we continue to do the same thing the same way, hoping that the optics at a point will look good. Of course it won't.
Now, Mr. Shomi, we just started a new dispensation on the 1st of January, but before then, in terms of renewed vigor to expand the tax net on the federal level, but before then, Lagos State is one of Africa's most aggressively taxed cities. In 2024, payroll taxes alone contributed a whopping 705.41 billion to the state. And then the 2026 Lagos budget, you see items like lawmakers' vehicle, 1 unit per unit cost as 516 million. You see 50 kV generator, 130 million. Office chair and table per office, 10.5 million. I'm sure you run a business. How often do these things need to be changed? Do furnitures have expiry dates or cars? Because Nigerians are wondering. I mean, if you're going to tax me, then you give me renewed impetus to question and ask these very important questions, because these are the things you're using my money for. You're not using it for affordable housing, into safety nets, crime prevention, or healthcare access. You're using it to for luxury vehicles and bespoke furniture.
Yeah, if you speak to accountants, they will tell you that when you depreciate for an item, you depreciate over a period of 3 years. For instance, your computer, the depreciation is over a period of 3 years. You cannot depreciate it on an annual basis to say this item is totally worthless. If you buy a generator, you cannot say, even when you have a manufacturer's warranty of 1 year, how do you now say that it's totally useless? You have to replace it every year. And a lot of it are not being replaced. It's just about where money are allocated, about the way we've been doing things. Just they'll bring the same budget. And I'll blame a lot of it on the civil servants, because it's exactly, they will be the one to prepare it. It's not the governor that will prepare it. They'll just do the same thing, give it to the governor. The governor will now send it to the State House of Assembly. We've not been doing our budgets appropriately. You cannot allocate money for generator this year. The same generator, you allocate another money for it the following year. That does not make sense to anybody. You cannot say you are building a structure this year, which you have completed, and you still keep allocating money for that very structure. How does that make sense? Are you going to demolish that one and start rebuilding again? It does not make sense. So I think many people need to join the advocacy to say that, look, we need to change the way we are doing things.
Is there an opposition in Lagos? So do you think the ruling party got too comfortable? Because it's been the same party that has metamorphosized into different names since 1999. The Alliance for Democracy has changed its form to what is today's APC. Is there a viable opposition in Lagos State? And are they paying the price of just being too comfortable and too comfortable, basically?
Probably. Maybe some people say maybe that's the case. But in relation to opposition, of course, we have opposition in Lagos State. Let me give you a good example. You notice that at the last 2023 general elections, there was considerable anxiety over what the results or the outcome of that election will be. That tells you that there's a growing feeling of, yes, we need to look at what they're doing and probably look at a different way out. So you have that on one part. If you look at, again, within the APC itself, within Lagos, we had considerable, I don't know whether you recall that some allegations were made against the current speaker at a point in time when it was alleged he was removed, and then he challenged that, his removal. That tells you, even within the APC itself, there are people asking questions. For me, when you look at politicians, it's not about which political party is in power or not. Because of the way we have evolved, lack of ideology has forced us into a situation where you can sleep in APC in the morning, wake up in PDP in the afternoon, and go into Labour Party 9 months later. So that's exactly the situation in Nigeria. So there's no difference. Go and ask.
That was a good one. I just got it.
Yeah, go and ask yourself, who are the people in ADC, for instance? If you say ADC is a platform to replace those who are in Lagos, is it that they are ex-APC member? Is it that, if you say Atiku was a former vice president under PDP, mention El-Rufai, he was a minister with PDP, government. Who else? Mention anybody. You see, they are all David Mark. David Mark was a Senate president under the PDP, and they have merged with some other people who are from APC. So what is going to change?
You're talking about the political elite, those who are professional politicians who have always been in one form of government or the other since the advent of this democracy. But that doesn't define the whole Nigerian political structure or everybody, or it doesn't give us a sense of hopelessness. Is there hope for a third force, perhaps, people that have not been politically exposed, that just don't want anything to do with the old guard or the new guard and just want genuine change? Because you look at Nigerians, they're the most brilliant people in the world. Every year there's a new family that is getting admission into Oxford, Cambridge. They're top performers in terms of migrant groups in America, in the United Kingdom, everywhere. And then you look at our country, and which is a huge contradiction. So it's about time. We need those type of Nigerians in governance. So is there any hope for them that, we might have a new crop or generation of politicians that really, that are not part of this institution of professional politicians that might bring about change?
Yes, there's hope. I'll tell you why there's hope. Currently, we have even very young elements, involved at the level of House of Assembly or in governance, even at the federal level. We have actors, we have had people who have excelled in different industries, also involved. At the same time, we also have people who are professional politicians. I do not want to give them a separate label so that I'm not accused of libeling. They are professional politicians. All their life, what they do is politics. And that's where they have distinguished themselves, not in any profession or the other, to contribute meaningfully towards the economy. But when you look at the population of Nigeria, we have 60%, allegedly, because there are no data, census data to prove it, but many people believe that 60% of our population are youths. And when you're saying youths, you're saying people under 30. And therefore, they're in a position to influence the course of events in our country. And that is where there's hope. And I remember at a point in time at the last election, I think the president made mention of it during the campaign and said, we know you are the majority, but look at our program, our policies, and then decide what to do. And again, when you take it on balance, you begin to see that we also have problems, because many countries are also concerned about our youths. While we have the vast majority of Nigerians who are hardworking, excelling in industries, we also have a section of our youths who are deemed, to create problems in different countries, involved in social vices one way or the other. So it's twin. You cannot have the best and not have some of the old taste. But as far as I know, if you look at the population of the youths in Nigeria today, they're in a position to change the direction of the country. They're in a position to even take over the leadership, and then develop the country. The problem we have is that the youths themselves are even divided.
Unfortunately, when the sense we get from the youths is there's a sense of
frustration,
discouragement, yes, frustration,
and hopelessness.
Hopelessness. That's the sense that we get. And even in times when they try to exercise the right to kick against the status quo, maybe exercise their right to protest, they're being held back. We don't see a lot of them wanting to participate in political activities as much, because it feels like the same things are going to happen, the same people are in power. The leaders of yesterday that said we are the leaders of tomorrow are still the ones in power. And maybe when our children will come, those ones will still be in power, these same leaders from yesterday. So how would you say, or how would you encourage everyday Nigerian citizens to be able to get in the process, to I mean, we need Nigerians to be able to
demand accountability.
Exactly, demand accountability. We're not going to be paying tax, and then you will pass frivolous budgets.
But we still have heaps of refuse on a city that claims to be the center of excellence on major roads.
Yeah. So what would you say to citizens to encourage them to be more interested in the process?
I would, in the first instance, you will notice that the reason why the youths are getting frustrated is simply because they're engaging with the system. In the past, the youths don't engage with the system. You want to go and vote, they are busy playing football, focus on one thing or the other. But now that they're practically engaging with the voting process, they are beginning to ask questions. Some of them are feeling frustrated. Some of them are determined that, look, we've got to change the situation, one way or the other. This discussion is coming up simply because of the engagement. So for me, that is something positive. But what I would say to change the situation from feeling of frustration and hopelessness is they should study what happened in the education sector in relation with ASU. People used to tell us that the reward for teachers is in heaven. We now have a situation, teachers are saying our reward is on earth, not in heaven any longer. ASU has been on protracted strikes and struggle.
It has come to an end.
Hopefully, it has come to an end. Eventually, they have gotten there.
But there's SANU and NASU.
Yes, they will get there eventually. So we should look at their determination, their resolve to get their reward on heart, and that is what the youth should look at. They should not feel frustrated. There are so many academics that got frustrated along the line. They migrated out of the country to look for greener pastures elsewhere. Rightly. But the fact of the matter is those who are determined remained here and they accomplished their goal. What have we signed up to? Academic freedom, autonomy in the university. When I was in the university, the struggle for university autonomy, academic freedom, and improve welfare conditions, those issues had always been there. ASU had been agitating for it. You can imagine how long. They moved closer in 2009 when they said, okay, we'll sign an agreement to be reviewed in 2012, 3 years later. That did not happen. In 2017, they engaged with the Buhari administration to renegotiate this. The government asked for renegotiation, nothing happened. They feel frustrated, prolonged strikes and all that, even at a point, almost 8 months. That students were not in the university. But today, they have achieved the goal. ASU have effectively achieved that. And one hope that NASU will also benefit from that process. So for me, the youth should not feel frustrated. You just keep engaging with the system. Eventually, there's no better way, to effect change other than through a democratic system. Well, we cannot be advocating for military rule in any form because it's not the best form of governance.
Felix Okechukwu says this is where leadership comes in. Why can't the governor ask questions? If the civil service presents same nonsense budget, why can't he, the governor, question it? Well, that's another conversation. We'll be looking into legal and procedures for passing budgets, and that will be a separate conversation that we'll have. Thank you so much, Mr. Shoumi, for joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to break now. When we come back, Benga will be bringing us the breakfast headlines. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Borowa. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebrations was marked across Nigeria yesterday, with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu paying tribute to fallen heroes and serving personnel for their courage and service in defending the nation's peace and unity. Ceremonies were held nationwide with the central event at the National Arcade in Abuja, featuring Wreath laying, a 21-gun salute, and a minute of silence. In Lagos, a similar wreath laying ceremony and a 21-gun salute was honored officers and men who paid the ultimate price. However, concerns were raised over the welfare of widows of fallen soldiers, many of whom say promised entitlements remain unpaid. From Borno, Plateau, Kano, Kogi to Delta State, citizens, veterans, and officials gathered in remembrance. In Asaba, military widows called for stronger institutional support and private sector involvement to sustain the initiative and honor their late spouses. Abubakar, son of former vice president and 2023 PDP presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, is affected from the People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressive Congress, pledging to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. The defection was announced on Thursday at the National Assembly in Abuja and is being seen as a symbolic boost for the APC, especially in the Northeast, popularly known as ABBA. It was formally received by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, alongside key APC leaders from the region. Addressing party leaders and supporters, Abubakar described his decision as historic and personal, officially resigning from the PDP to align with the APC. He also directed members of his political structure, the Haske Atiku organization, to join the APC and mobilize support for President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Now to one of our top stories. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has denied reports claiming that the federal government has suspended the issuance of implementation guidelines for Nigeria's new tax laws. Oyedele said the reports, which quoted him as saying the process was paused due to uncertainty over the final version of the laws, was incorrect. Oyedele explained that while there are concerns about different versions of the tax laws currently in circulation, the government has not halted the process of preparing implementation guidelines. Residents living in hamlets around the Kainji Lake axis in Niger State have been given a mandatory 2-month ultimatum to vacate the area to allow for military operations. Niger State Governor Mohammed Bago issued the directive during a condolence visit to the Emir of Burgu, Mohammed Haliru Dantoro, in New Busa following recent terrorist attacks in the emirate. He explained that the evacuation is necessary to prevent collateral damage as the government, in collaboration with federal forces, prepare to flush out terrorists using the lake and forest as a camp. Flooding triggered by torrential rains has left at least 10 people dead in northeastern South Africa as authorities warn of more severe weather ahead. Officials say 9 people were killed overnight in a village in Limpopo province near the Kruger National Park. The flooding forced the closure of the world-famous park while rescue teams pulled nearly 200 people to safety. South Africa's weather service has issued its highest alert for continued heavy rainfall in several regions. Neighboring Mozambique has also been placed on flood alert with rising water already inundating roads and homes. Emergency services remain on standby as conditions are expected to worsen. Uganda's Electoral Commission says the presidential election was generally peaceful, with vote counting completed in many areas. Electoral Commission Chairperson Simon Bakama has urged candidates and supporters to remain calm as results are declared. The vote came amidst an internet shutdown and widespread delays caused by technical failures as President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni seeks to extend his nearly 4 decades in power. More than 21.6 million voters were registered, many of them young people grappling with unemployment.
The Commission notes the exercise has therefore been generally peaceful across the country. We once again salute the people of Uganda for having turned up in high numbers to elect their leaders and for conducting themselves in a peaceful manner and for bearing with us as the Commission. And now, as we talk now, the counting of votes in many places has been concluded, and the declaration of results, or the tallying, the declaration of results, as the declaration of results gets underway, the Commission wishes to call on all candidates, their agents, and supporters to keep calm and be tolerant.
And that's all on the news at this hour. I am Benga Aburo. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We will be looking through the front pages of the papers this morning, and we want your opinion as we'll be able to take a few calls, and then we'll take some comments from YouTube. Where we're streaming live via News Central TV Live. But joining us to analyze the papers in the studio is public affairs analyst, Ms. Professor Simeon Nna.
Yes,
Thank you very much for joining
not
us.
a professor of practice, a real professor.
A real professor.
From the academics, yes.
A very important.
Great to have you, and I believe it's Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no, we've seen this year.
Okay.
We've seen this year.
Oh, yes.
He
was looking very regal
yes,
last year.
exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
He was, which is, what's that called? Ishiago. Yes. Let's start with this Nigerian newspaper. On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, we're going through hard times. Widows of fallen heroes lament. Recall that yesterday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day, where we celebrated the lives of veterans as well as the memories of the ones who have passed. And then we also have here, Tinubu renews troops welfare promise. Shetima Akpabio, other dignitaries commemorate Armed Forces Remembrance. Court strikes out federal government defamation case against Akpoti Oduanga. Opposition needs red eye to defeat Tinubu in 2027.
What does he mean? Does he mean members of the opposition should contract conjunctivitis, otherwise known as Apollo? It gives you an automatic red eye.
Yeah, very dry.
Anyway, Professor would explain when we get to
Yes, he will. Soludo says,
yes.
No need to reopen Biafra war after 56 years. Lassa fever killed 215 Nigerians in 2025, says NCDC. Okay, since Benga spoke about Apollo,
yes,
let's start with that.
Red eye.
Red eye. In an interview with, I've forgotten his name now, he had a one-on-one interview with this PDP strong membership. Anyway, in the interview, Dati Ahmed had said that you can't be winning, you can't win the opposition by playing Mr. Nice Guy. That you have to have, he said, permit me to
Red
use the
eye.
word, red eye.
Yeah.
What do you think are the principles or policies or the actions that he may have tried to communicate that you will need to be able to win the opposition?
It's simple. It's just saying that you don't need to be quiet. You need to do all that it's possible for you to win the election. I recall that in 2023, the current president said that presidency is not served a la carte. You have to struggle for it, you have to grab it, you have to run for it. So I think he's talking from that paradigm, that since somebody will struggle and run for it, you don't have to keep quiet, because in those days, they said the patient dog eats the fattest bone, but these days, the patient dog goes flat with nothing. So you have to struggle for it. That's what it's trying to say.
The patient dog is fasting.
Maybe.
Very, very.
Okay, let's look at this. I mean, yesterday also marked 56 years since the end of hostilities between Nigeria and the defunct Biafra Republic. And there you have the governor of Anambra State saying no need to reopen Biafra war after 56 years. You agree with him, because in the aftermath of the war,
What do you expect?
General Yakubu Gowon said no victor, no vanquished. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about the things that happened.
Okay. Let me start with Soludo before I go to go on. What do you expect from the governor? He's enjoying himself. Recall what's the name of this guy that was in House of Reps? He was criticizing the government. The next election, he won election to the House, and he was asked, why are you not talking again? He says bad man has to talk while you're eating. That his mouth is full. So it's the same thing with Soludo, his mouth is full. What do you expect from him? That's one. On the issue of Gowon, I think he's an elder statesman, but those days he was younger. He was being economical with the truth.
When he said no
victor, no vanquished. But there was a victor and there was a vanquished. And we have seen it today. He made mention of 3 hours. Out of the 3 hours, he did nothing. Reconstruction, what are they again? Reconciliation and rehabilitation. He didn't do any of the 3. The only thing he did was to rehabilitate the Niger Bridge, the first Niger Bridge, because it's the only gateway to connect the other parts of the country. And that was the only thing he did. He is still alive. So let him tell us what else he did about the 3 hours. Nothing. So there was an absolute victor. Up to this moment, it's been playing out. So let's not go there. I don't want to remember the war because I wasn't a baby. I was in primary 6 during the war. So I understood what transpired. I don't want to go there.
So
I don't want to go there. It reminds me of a very terrible, ugly experience.
I'm really
seeing people that were dying of kwashiorkor, who were lucky, kind of, or blessed, if you like, because my father was not recruited in the army. He was those that were meant to recruit soldiers. And one of the major ingredients that caused problem then was salt. And he was selling salt. So we didn't have issues. But I saw relations. I saw...
You have memories, yes.
You know, I don't want to remember that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I want to say something. I worry that in the bid to often say that we don't want to remember the things that happened in the past, we might be repeating a lot of that. You go to Rwanda, for example, after the Rwandan genocide, there's now, they will tell you that, yes, there's a genocide memorial. In fact, it's one of the, sadly so, but a tourist attraction. You come in, you learn the history of the people. In learning the history of the people, you learn about the Rwandan genocide. And they even find it insulting for you to ask, are you Hutu or are you Tutsi?
Tutsis.
Everybody is, they are all Rwandese, right?
Yeah.
The question now is, here in Nigeria, we've seen how very divided we are along ethnic lines.
Yes.
Would you say that we have told enough of our story, especially what happened in the Biafra War?
Have you forgotten that they removed history from school curriculum? People had to struggle and fight before. At times I begin to ask myself, where do we go from here? You remove history from primary and secondary and do history in the university. So what common sense does that make?
What background?
What
foundation?
So at the end of the day, it was when people now begin to criticize that move. And that is in a bit, I can say succinctly, without mincing words, that was in a bit to cover up what happened during the Civil War. Look at the Truth Commission in South Africa. It was meant to, bring people together and to forget the past. You keep on telling us forget the past without doing anything about it.
But we had the Oputa panel. It didn't go as far as...
Oputa panel was not basically about the war. It was about, reconciliation and the military, the civilian regime and what have you. And recall that many people did not want to show up, like some of the military guys.
The former heads of states
didn't want to show up in that Oputa panel. And even at that, which of the panels in Nigeria have we implemented?
Or reports?
I saw a cartoon, I think it was in Vanguard, during the 2014 confab. They brought the chairman of the confab and there was a container, the head of state. As the report was coming, he was dropping it to the trash can. As the report was coming, he was dropping it to the trash can. What's happened to do today? It's been dropped to the trash can. So most of our, commissions, when they finish, they drop it. And even if government wants to do anything, they will appoint another committee to review the report of the committee.
Now they will not do anything.
And after that now, it will be...
just before you move away from here, I just want to wrap this up by saying I think that it's important that we have more conversations. I do not think that we've done justice to the memories of the people who passed during the Biafra War. My mommy told me hellish stories about what happened during the war. And if we have been able to learn lessons from then, from what happened during the war, then Twitter handles like this one that calls himself Saki or was papping on Twitter wouldn't be putting things like this. He said, Samuel Chukwueze, an Igbo boy, cost us a place in the AFCON finals with that useless penalty he played. I'm suspecting he did that in solidarity with Biafra because there's no way you're convincing me that wasn't intentional.
There should be consequences for such careless and stupid talk. Absolutely. These are adults.
It is because it's an Igbo man. That's why he's saying that. Because
and he can't say that.
No, he can't say that to an Hausa man. There'll be riot in the north. That's a fact. So let's not pretend about these things. Because I hate when people begin to pretend about the truth. I hate it. You see,
but
so
I think
people
we
should be careful.
The issue
People should
of
be
its
careful.
merit, and that young man that tweeted that is
a lot of people have a lot of
it down.
No, he hasn't taken it down because I went to check on his handle and I read that tweet from his handle.
A lot of best footballers have missed their penalties. Penalty is
Even Pele misses penalties.
I mean, most of the best footballers we have had in the world have missed their penalties.
We didn't
Because
go
at times,
to one of the reasons why we didn't qualify for the World Cup is because the Yoruba man, Semi Ajayi, misses penalty against DRC. Nobody's saying that.
Nobody said anything. You see what I said? Because an Igbo man, that's why. And there were two people that missed penalties. Yeah. So one single out the Igbo man. So that's the thing we are talking. Right. That's the narrative.
We hope that there's something that we can do. We can learn a lesson from there, and that we don't have a repeat.
And talking about learning lessons and reconciliation, that brings us to the story. I'll start from the beginning of this year. The Senate President came out after a church service. I mean, during the church service, took the microphone. He had the whole paraphernalia of office. There was this lectern with the seal of the Senate President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the church. And he said he listened to the homily of the Reverend Father and something struck him. So he instructed his lawyers to take down the cases against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And now the federal government, I don't know which homily the federal government listened to, but the federal government through the Attorney General of the Federation's office have decided to strike out 2 cases of defamation against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. What do you make of this? Is this genuine reconciliation or political reconciliation? Because she had to thank Mr. President.
Both. In the first place, the Attorney General was partisan to go to court against Natasha Uduaghan. And since the key actor has said, I don't want to continue the case, it will be foolhardy for the Attorney General to continue with the case, because the key actor in that case is the senator, is the Senate President. And since he said, in consonance with the Christmas and the New Year celebrations, that he's withdrawing his cases against Natasha Uduaghan, it will be foolhardy, like I said before, for the Attorney General to continue with that case. So that is it. So they have taken down the case, and let's see how it goes from here. Some people were saying the other day, maybe, I don't think she will. Maybe she wants go to APC. I don't think she will.
Okay. Let's take a call. We have a call from Abuja. Tony is calling. Good morning, Tony. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead with your comment. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, you see, there's this saying that if those who fail to learn from history will live to repeat it. And I can see, look at how Rwanda. They learn so much from the mistakes they made in the past. So we in Nigeria are not learning. How can you remove history from our Nigeria? It's unfair. It's so unfortunate. And we see the people who are supposed to have learned and move forward. Why should Nigeria be so divided now, more divided, like somebody said that we were in the 60s? After over 100 years after amalgamation in 2014, and after over 60 years after, we should be more integrated and more united. Married across we should resolve. I conclude by saying every result is a product of the result. Let's resolve to see ourselves as one and live together in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much. I have a better way of saying that those who don't take account of history will soon become history themselves.
They are bound to make the same mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they become
and honestly, it's at the pleasure and at the benefit of politicians that we are divided against ourselves, because they will wield that in their own favor during elections. That's what happens. They manipulate that, they use poverty as tools.
That's the word I wanted.
You know, for their
the politicians manipulate that for their political gains. To keep you down there, the Yoruba man is against the Igbo man is against the Hausa man. That's what they do, so that they don't come together to fight them at the National Assembly. When they are there, they are one. They see themselves as one, so that they can share our patrimony. But they will come down here to make it divided, so that they can't come together to fight them.
At the level of class, they are united.
They are united. Yeah. They see themselves as one. There's no class there.
All right, Uche is calling from Abia State. Good morning, Uche. Thank you for calling.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Please go ahead with your comment.
You see, Nigeria is not going to work. Let's not pretend. If Nigeria will work, our institutions, the problem is the institution. And another problem is whoever that wins election, he will do what? Put to his people. That's a very bad, system. You win an election, you retire some generals. You win an election, you take away, IG of police and put your people. That is a problem. No country, I repeat it, no country will, walk in that direction. For instance, is it MC Omolo said something during the election? What happened? Did anything happen? These are lessons that if institution is working, whether you are A or B or C, whatever you does, the institution will come after you. But this country, even the former vice president, you people should remember, you people are journalists. He said something. Why the clock of justice is going back? Is because this Oba will call you, this Emma will call you, this chief will call you. Which country in this world does that? So if something happened to me, because I'm a poor man, look at what is happening to, is it Amanda or whatever you call her? Sorry. People have, sympathized with the child that died, Chimamanda. But if it is a poor person, will the country, rise up against that? Look at America. Anybody that died, even if it's going to take them 30 or 20 years, they will reveal the killer. But here in this country, if you're a big man, forget it. The court will rule, for you. If you're a poor person, people are in jail. People are suffering in jail because of what they have not done. Is it not in our law that the state attorney will be visiting, is it 3 months? I'm not a lawyer. Or 2 months to all those. Have they been doing that? God bless you, people.
I would just like to say that words are very powerful, and Nigeria will work in our lifetime.
Amen.
If we do the right things. I do understand the spirit of this conversation, that we need to build strong institutions and not strong people, and there should be consequences for action. In the wake of Kwamwan acting the way he did on the runway of the airport, I'm sure so many people called in. One chief, this person, and then they forgive you, they make you an ambassador. The 2 individuals that were also fighting in the airplane, no consequences. They've not been put on any no-fly list. Yeah, because they know something. But institutions are devoid of sentiments, and I know this person or I know that person. If you commit the crime, you will do the time. And that's when we start acting in that way, we'll build a country that works for everyone. Let's move to the Guardian.
Next paper, yes. Let's move to the Guardian newspaper.
Guardian newspaper here. Kano governor deputy part ways over defection. The governor wants to leave, the deputy doesn't want to leave. So what happens in that sort of situation? Alleged 110.4 billion fraud. EFCC tenders First Bank records against Yaya Bello and others. Interesting development there. The chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Olukoyede, recently in a TV interview said, look, I told you I was going to prosecute Yaya Bello, that I've done my part, that the ball is in the court of the judiciary. Has he really done his part? The way Mr. Yaya Bello is dancing and is even having political ambition and is even part of some reconciliation committee.
Can I tell you what is happening?
Yes, but before you tell us what is happening, let's quickly hear from Joseph. Joseph's been on the call from Edo State. Good morning, Joseph.
Please, I want to speak to the gentleman who is there. Tell him to stop gaslighting us as a people. The Biafran war was a war that was fought. And that war that was fought, those 5 killed people. The Southeast keeps on saying what happened during the Biafran war. Ask him what happened. The Biafran war occupied the Midwest. The Midwest were never compensated. After the war, the soldiers that occupied the Midwest were still compensated. And the Southeast keeps on claiming they are victims. There was no, everybody participated in the war. The Southeast killed people. They killed people in the Midwest. Nobody till today has apologized to the Midwest. And we get people from the Southeast, they keep on claiming victims. The Midwest were victims of the Southeast during the Biafran War. Yet, no Midwestern person was compensated. The soldiers who occupied the Midwest, they were given 20 pounds after the war. Did they give the people who occupied anything? Nigeria should move past the Biafran War. We should walk past the Biafran War and talk of unity. And when the Southeast keeps on gaslighting us that what happened during the Biafran War, it is an insult to us who were occupied, who were not part of the war. Did the Biafran soldiers not kill soldiers during the war? Did they not take over communities? Please and please, let us promote unity and put the Biafran War before us, because nobody was innocent during the war. The Nigerians should stop being gaslighted. That is what I want to tell all Southeasterners today.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your opinion. Professor Simeon Onuna will respond to you after this break. Thank you. All right, you're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still reviewing the newspaper front pages. It's been a bit heated ever since the conversation about what happened during the war. We had a call before we went on the break from Joseph, I believe, where he shared his thoughts about what happened during the Biafra War. I believe Professor Simeon Onuna wants to respond to that, and then we can move to our next story.
Well, such things I don't like responding to, but because of the words he used, gaslighting, nobody's gaslighting anybody. Well, I don't carry Biafra stories. These are life stories, things I experienced myself. He is talking of the Midwest. The only part of Midwest that suffered during the war was the Delta area, because of Kaduna Zogo. If you know what transpired in that axis, you know what I'm talking about. Let's not go into that.
At the end of the
Let him tell me how many federal projects that we have in Enugu and how many we have in Edo, in Benin. You see, so if we go into this, we are going to open a can of worms.
Right.
If people, I don't know how old he was during the war. Maybe they told him stories. Nobody told me stories. I'm saying things I saw, I know.
I mean, that's why I believe it was in that spirit that General Yakubu Gowon said, no victor, no vanquish, because there are people in Cross River, Ogoja, Rivers, and other places too who have tales of everybody has agency to tell their own stories. We cannot demand that you should not tell your stories.
All right. Let's now move to the still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Fubara's impeachment stalls as lawmakers fail to reconvene. NESG projects 5.5% growth, 16% inflation in 2026, warns against policy reversals. U.S. sanctions, foreign airlines battle drop in passenger traffic. Before. Federal government and ASU deal
$15,000 bond to go to US.
That's it. $15,000 bond.
So you stay in your house.
Before. Federal government and ASU deal promises improved post-service welfare for academic staff. And Atiku Song dumps PDP for APC and backs Tinubu second term. Let's start with that.
I received that with mixed feelings in the morning when I was reviewing papers in another station. And I said succinctly that people should be very careful, that this guy will not be a mole in APC. Again, record that has been in and out of EFCC locker room. And if you remember what Senator Shomole said when he was the chairman of APC, that when you join APC, if you're a sinner, your sins are forgiven you. And our friend, Senator Sani, said if APC wants to fight people that are in the opposition, they use insecticides. If they want to fight people in APC, they use deodorants. I think what is happening here is that the guy wants to become a saint from his sins, past sins. And then let's watch his activities during the election.
All right.
How he's going to mobilize those people, where he's going to mobilize them from when the father is there.
Well, for now, he's mobilizing them in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's second term, he says. Well, we have a call from London. Ade is calling. Good morning, Ade. It's good to hear from you.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
What I want to say is this. I want to appeal to our media houses. You have the power. The power is in your hand. In UK now, the government, everybody, they fear the media because they fear the media because they can do investigative journalism and bring down a prime minister. You know, they are very good at it, or MPs. But Nigeria media, you can do more in helping us to curb this corruption. You can send a journalist from Central to London to America to go and find out the houses they use our money to buy and bring it out on your TV. So this can help a lot because we need the media. You have the power. You see, everybody fear media here. I'm telling you, because they can bring anybody down anytime, even the royal family. So you media in Nigeria, you have a lot to do to help us because the level of corruption is too much and it's affecting us. And secondly, I want after this government, at least they should consider the Southeast in the next government. But my advice to South is that try and have a leader that you can refer to when they talk of Southeast. We talk of Yoruba land, now we go to Afenifere. Who are they going to talk to in Southeast? We should come together and unite and look for somebody that they can speak with. Then that will solve the problem. Thank you. You are doing a good job.
Calling. All right. So you've said we have to wait to see how things will turn out at the next elections. Thank you very much, Ade, for that feedback.
Yeah, I can't agree more with him. I can't agree more with him. I think it was on point. Yeah.
All right. So still on the front page, we have Kano Governor Deputy Pathways alleged 110.4 billion naira fraud. EFCC tenders fresh bank records against Yahaya Bello and others. I don't know. We haven't touched this.
Yeah, we haven't touched that. Let's talk about Yahaya Bello. I wanted to say something before we went on break. You see, what happened was that Yahaya Bello just mentioned his intention of contesting for the senatorial zone, senatorial seat of his zone, and there was a backlash. And that's why EFCC is responding with fresh evidence. They're just saying that they have those evidence now. You see, I did my first discipline is banking and finance. There's no cupboard that enters the bank that you cannot trace where it went to finally. So they have these details from day one. Why are they trying to just come up today to tell us that they brought fresh evidence? From where? Has the evidence not been there? It's just that people are now saying the EFCC is not doing much. This guy is now coming out to contest for a senatorial seat. Meanwhile, his case is in court. So they just want to make us believe that they are working. We understand some of those games.
So you believe it's media trial and effort of
futility? It's media trial.
Okay. The big story.
Let them go to court now. Why are they telling us? They should drag the guy to court. Let court now make pronouncements. Why are they just trying him on media? You know.
Well, all right. We have a call. Baraka from Niger State. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, guys in the studio. And I have to appreciate the person, the last caller from UK. He has spoken my mind. You journalists have to buckle up and do the needful to help Nigerians. Of course, both of you and I, we live in Nigerians. We don't fight hardly. We, the common man in the street, we find it very difficult. Away from there, I want to talk about our number 3 citizens of this country, Senator Akpabio, who said that he has forgiven Senator Natasha. He has nothing to forgive that woman. All I need to hear from him as a number 3 citizen is to make sure he deliver the road that leads from Abuja to south, southeast, southwest. People find it very tough and difficult. Look at your children. Look at women with pregnancies. Suffer in that terrain. Was he happy to see such people, a citizen, crying, suffering? Is to give a massive order to Omeha as a number 3 citizen to make sure that road is being concluded. I am sure during the time of military era, that road was awarded from Zuba to Upper North, from Zuba to East, South, South, and Southwest. I am telling you, during consecutive times, the northern people completed their roads in everywhere, but ours, just once, has not been done. And money has been voted to that road because of massive corruption. For once, they have not done anything, and nobody cared to ask them from anything. We produce president from South-South, we produce president from Southwest, we have produced senators, we have a representative as a senators and House of Representatives, and nothing has been done. Nobody has been called there to question them because of the massive corruptions. The media has a role to play to ask the question, bring it down to the station.
Sharing your thoughts with us, and we have been doing that and we'll continue to do that. Is why we have some of the conversations we have with these leaders, these lawmakers.
Let me just
on YouTube, just to quickly chip in, sir. Mokunye Chukwemeka says, please talk more about the Biafra War, Prof. We need these stories for historical purposes. Lillian Oloha says, please, we should stop profiling people's ethnicity. Femi Ajayi stopped Nigeria from going to the World Cup and no one profiled the Yoruba tribe. Prof will have his response and then we'll be winding down slowly, but we need to go on a very quick break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back in a moment. All right, welcome back, where we have 3 minutes to the end of the show or less. You had a response, and I wanted us to take one more story before we exit.
Okay, I just wanted, I don't know which story you wanted to comment on.
So you wanted to speak to the guests who had...
Yeah, he said the Senate President should give a marching order to Meha. No, he doesn't have such powers. The Senate can only advise. It's only the President that can give a marching order to a minister, not the House, not the Senate, not the Senate President per se. He doesn't have such powers.
But the Senate can invite him.
The Senate can invite him and ask him to do the needful if they believe that he's not doing the needful.
Okay.
But they can't give marching orders to him to do that.
All right, let's end on a positive note. The Nigerian Tribune big story there says, relief for exporters, importers, banks as Nigeria exits EU financial high-risk list. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I feel good, and I see people in government rolling out the drums. But the question I asked earlier, I'm going to ask again, is what has changed? Now, Dubai gave us a list of people that were funding bandits. Did we try any of them? Have we tried anybody funding bandits in this country? So you see, I don't know what has transpired under the bridge. We have had the PR moves in US. We don't know what moves that were made for this to happen, because I've not seen Nigeria done anything with those, sponsoring bandits that they should be removed from that list. But it's a good one that will be removed. But I want to urge the government to please ensure that all the people that have their names have been mentioned as sponsoring bandits should be tried. They should be brought to book.
All right. Final comment. Olumide Alade says, the energy Southeast leaders are putting into politics could be better channeled into collective commercial and economic development of the region, an area the Southeast has always been known for. If they unite to develop the region into a commercial hub comparable to Singapore, the agitation for Biafra would naturally fade into history. Do you agree with him in 30 seconds?
Partially, I do. We are doing that. If you must know, Aba has been designated as one of the branches of World Trade Center, and it's going to come very soon. This is not media, stuff at the end of the day. So they are doing that on their own. But, you see, you cannot tell a region that they should come together while other regions are benefiting from their, collective wealth. The other guy that was saying something the other day, the other time, I wanted to ask him, how many states does the Southeast have? You say Nigeria is standing on a tripod. The North, the South, and the West. I was in a program, I think it was in a Golden Gate restaurant, and somebody was saying the minorities. I had butterfly flying in my tummy. I say, who are the minorities? I began to ask them, South, how many states? Southwest, how many states? North Central, how many states? When I got to Southeast, I said, how many states? Everybody kept quiet. I said, you said they are the major tribe, and they have 5 states.
Right. Well, that is the way we will end the conversation. Who indeed are the minorities? We'll come back again on Monday with more, but remember that the conversations about Nigeria's political trajectory continues over the course of the weekend, so please join Breakfast Extra with Mazino and Judith. For us, it's goodbye. We'll be back on Monday. Joe Hansen will be back from his leave, and then the trio will be complete. I am Olive MOD, and I'll see you on Monday.
And I'm Benga Borough. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.